The sky above Novus Prime burned red. Not the natural red of sunset, but the angry red of fire and destruction. Commander Tae-ho Kim stood on the crumbling observation deck of what had once been the colony's main control center. His uniform was torn and stained with blood, some his own, some belonging to friends who had not survived the morning's attack. "Commander, you need to come inside," a voice called from behind him. "Their ships are still in orbit. They might see you." Tae-ho turned to face Ji-young Park, his second-in-command. Her face was streaked with dirt and her normally neat hair hung loose around her shoulders. Like him, she had not slept in 3 days. "How many did we lose today?" Tae-ho asked, his voice flat. Ji-young looked down at the tablet in her hands. 217. The hospital wing took a direct hit. Tae-ho closed his eyes. The Lyrian colony on Novus Prime had once been home to 12,000 people. Now, after 2 weeks of relentless attacks from the Vorid Empire, fewer than 3,000 remained, and those numbers dropped every day. "The Council is waiting for you," Ji-young said. "We need to make decisions about the remaining supplies." With a last look at the burning horizon, Tae-ho followed her inside. They walked through dark hallways where emergency lights flickered weakly. The walls still showed signs of what this place had once been, a bright, hopeful center of human achievement. The Lyrians had left Earth centuries ago, seeking new homes, among the stars. For a time, they had found peace here on Novus Prime. That peace had ended when the Vorid ships appeared in the sky. The council chamber was no longer the grand room it had once been. Now it was a small underground space filled with tired people sitting on whatever chairs or boxes they could find. 6 faces looked up as Tae-ho entered, all that remained of the colony's leadership. "Our defenses are gone," Tae-ho said without waiting for questions. "The last shield generator fell this morning. The Vorids now control the entire northern continent." Silence filled the room until an older man named Han-jae spoke. "Then we have lost. We should surrender while some of us still live." "Surrender?" Ji-young stepped forward. "The Vorids aren't taking prisoners. Have you not seen what they do to the people they capture?" Everyone in the room had seen. The Vorids did not believe in mercy. "We have children here," said Sunmi, the colony's medical director. Her arms were stained with blood up to her elbows. "We owe them a chance to live." Tae-ho walked to the center of the room where a simple map was displayed on a table. It showed the colony and the surrounding land. "The Vorids want this planet," he said. "They don't want us. Every colony they've attacked in this sector has been completely destroyed. No survivors. They consider this their territory, and we are, just in their way." "Then what hope do we have?" asked Minho, who ran what remained of their food production. Ji-young stepped forward. "I have an idea." She pressed a button on her tablet, and the image on the table changed to show a small device. "This is our last working quantum beacon. It can send a message instantly across any distance." "To whom?" Han-jae asked. "The other colonies in this sector have already fallen. The Galactic Coalition ignored our first calls for help." "Not to the Coalition," Ji-young said. "To Earth." The room grew quiet again. Earth, their ancient home, had withdrawn from galactic affairs decades ago. Many believed the planet had turned its back on its children among the stars. "Earth will not come," Han-jae said. "They have not responded to any colony's call for generations." Ji-young looked at Tae-ho, who nodded for her to continue. "They might not come," she admitted. "But what other choice do we have? The quantum beacon can reach them instantly. If there's even a small chance they would help." A loud boom shook the room, sending dust falling from the ceiling. The Vorid bombardment was getting closer. "How long can we survive down here?" Tae-ho asked, turning to Minho. The man checked his own tablet. "Food for 45 days if we stretch it. The air recyclers will last about 60 days before they fail." Tae-ho looked at each person in the room. "Then we have nothing to lose. We send the message to Earth and we hide. The deep cave systems below us go for miles. We move everyone there, seal the entrances and wait." "Wait to be rescued or wait to die?" Han-jae asked. "Whichever comes first," Tae-ho answered honestly. Another explosion rocked the building. This one was closer. We don't have time to debate, Ji Young said. The Vorids are almost here. Taeho nodded. Prepare the beacon. Everyone else, start moving our people to the cave system. Take only what we need to survive. The council members quickly left to carry out their tasks. Only Ji Young remained with Taeho. Do you really think Earth will come? She asked quietly, when they were alone. Taeho looked at the map again. I don't know, but we need to give our people hope. An hour later, they stood on a small hill outside the ruined colony center. The quantum beacon was set up, pointing at the night sky. Above them, Vorid ships moved like dark shadows against the stars. The message is simple, Ji Young said. Colony, fallen. Survivors remain. Send help. Taeho nodded. Send it. Ji Young pressed a button, and the beacon hummed to life. A small beam of light shot upward, invisible to normal eyes but carrying their desperate plea across the vast distance to Earth. A moment later, the beacon went quiet. It's done, Ji Young said. Then we go underground, Taeho replied. He took one last look at the stars. And we pray someone is listening. They destroyed the beacon to leave no trace and made their way to the cave entrance where the last of their people were being guided inside. Children cried, parents whispered comfort, and the old looked back at the burning colony with tears in their eyes. As the final group entered the caves, a loud roar filled the air. Vorid landing ships descended on what remained of the colony, their searchlights sweeping the ground. Close it, Taeho ordered. Heavy doors slid shut, and workers quickly covered them with rocks and dirt. In the dim light of emergency lamps, 3,000 scared faces looked to Taeho. He stood on a rock so everyone could see him. We have sent a call for help, he said, his voice strong despite his exhaustion. Until it comes, we will survive. We are Lyrians, we are humans, and humans do not surrender. In the darkness of space, the quantum message traveled instantly across thousands of light years. On Earth's orbital command platform, a forgotten receiver suddenly came to life. Colony fallen. Survivors remain. Send help. Admiral Hyunwoo Kang stood by the large window of Earth's orbital command platform, watching his home planet rotate slowly below. The blue-green world looked peaceful from space. Most people on Earth lived comfortable lives, unconcerned with matters beyond their atmosphere. Earth had pulled back from galactic affairs decades ago, focusing instead on building its own strength. A soft beep interrupted his thoughts. He turned to see his assistant, Lieutenant Jin-Soo, enter the room. Admiral, something unusual has happened, Jin-Soo said, holding out a tablet. The quantum receiver picked up a signal. Hyunwoo took the tablet with a frown. The quantum communication system was old technology, rarely used these days. Earth maintained it mostly out of tradition. Colony, fallen. Survivors remain. Send help, he read aloud. Where did this come from? Jin-Soo tapped the screen. The Eridani system, sir. Specifically from Novus Prime. It's a Lyrian colony. Hyunwoo's eyes widened slightly. The Lyrians were humans who had left Earth centuries ago seeking new homes among the stars. They were distant cousins to the people of Earth. When did we last have contact with the Lyrians? He asked. Official contact ended 30 years ago when Earth closed its borders, Jin-Soo replied. But there still are people just living far away. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Call the United Earth Council. They need to see this. 3 hours later, Hyunwoo stood before the 12 members of the United Earth Council. These men and women controlled Earth's government and military. They rarely agreed on anything. This message could be a trap, said Councillor Park, a thin woman with sharp eyes. The galaxy knows we've grown stronger. Perhaps someone wants to lure our ships away from Earth. Or it could be exactly what it says, Hyunwoo replied. Our people calling for help. Councillor Lee, an older man with gray hair, shook his head. The Lyrians chose to leave Earth. They are not our responsibility. Hyunwoo placed both hands on the table and leaned forward. With respect, sir, they are still humans. Earth blood runs in their veins. Admiral, You're not suggesting we send ships to a distant system based on a single message? Asked Counselor Kim. We have no idea what we'd be facing. Actually, we do, Hyunwoo said. He nodded to Jin Soo, who displayed an image on the room's main screen. It showed alien ships with sharp, angular designs. Our long-range sensors have detected increased activity in that sector. These are Vorid Empire vessels. The council members murmured among themselves. The Vorids were known to be aggressive, constantly expanding their territory. The Vorids have never attacked Earth, Counselor Park pointed out. Because we're too far from their current expansion, Hyunwoo said. But they're moving through the galaxy system by system. Today it's the Lyrians, tomorrow it could be other human colonies, eventually it will be Earth. Silence fell over the room. Hyunwoo looked at each council member in turn. For 30 years we've stayed hidden behind our borders, he said. While we focused inward, developing our technology and strengthening our military, the rest of the galaxy began to forget about us. They think we've grown weak and afraid. He straightened his back. I say it's time to remind them who we are. The council debated for hours. Voices were raised. Arguments grew heated. Finally, Counselor Chen, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. How many survivors does the message mention? She asked. It doesn't say, Hyunwoo admitted. But Novus Prime was home to at least 10,000 colonists. And how many ships would you need for this rescue mission? Hyunwoo had already done the calculations. 5 ships, our newest stealth vessels with quantum jump capability. 5 ships against the entire Vorid Empire? Counselor Park scoffed. It would be suicide. Not with our new technology, Hyunwoo countered. The Vorids don't know what we've been developing these past 30 years. Counselor Chen nodded slowly. I move that we put this to a vote. When the votes were counted, the result was 7-5 in favor of the mission. Hyunwoo felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Admiral Kang, said Counselor Chen, you have your authorization. Bring our people home. The next morning, Captain Soo-min Lee stood in the hangar bay of the military base, watching crews load supplies onto her ship, the Thunderstorm. 4 other, identical vessels were being prepared nearby. These ships represented Earth's most advanced technology, sleek black vessels designed to move unseen through enemy territory. Captain, a voice called. She turned to see a tall man approaching in combat armor. The name Choi was printed on his chest plate. Sergeant Jun Ho Choi, he said, saluting. Ghost Division. My team is ready to board. Soo-min nodded. The Ghost Division was Earth's elite special forces unit, soldiers trained for the most dangerous missions. They would be essential for finding and extracting the Lyrian survivors. Have you been briefed on the mission, Sergeant? She asked. Yes, Captain. We go in quiet, find our people, and bring them out. He hesitated. If I may speak freely? Go ahead. My great-grandmother was Lyrian. She returned to Earth before they closed the borders. I still have family out there somewhere. His eyes were determined. We won't fail them. Soo-min studied him. No, we won't. Later that day, the 5 ships were ready. Admiral Kang came to see them off, standing before the assembled crews in the main hangar. The mission ahead is dangerous, he said, his voice echoing in the large space. The Vorids outnumber us. They have more ships, more soldiers, but they don't know we're coming and they don't know what we're capable of. He looked at the faces before him. Over 500 men and women prepared to risk their lives. For 30 years, Earth has been silent in galactic affairs. Some believe we've grown soft. Others think we've grown afraid. He paused. They're wrong. We've been growing stronger, waiting for the day when our voice would need to be heard again. Today is that day. The crews stood straighter, pride visible on their faces. The Lyrians are our blood, Kang continued, and we do not abandon our own. Bring them home or make the Vorids pay for what they've done, preferably both. A cheer went up from the assembled soldiers and crew members. As the crews boarded their ships, Captain Lee took one last look at Earth through the hangar's force field. The blue planet seemed to shine brighter today. Prepare for departure, she ordered as she stepped onto the bridge of the thunderstorm. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, readying the ship for its journey. On the main screen, she could see the other 4 vessels moving into formation around them. "All ships report ready, Captain," her first officer said. Sumin took her command chair. "Set course for the Eridani system. Prepare for quantum jump." The 5 ships moved away from the orbital platform, their engines glowing blue against the darkness of space. In a flash of light, they vanished, beginning their journey to a distant colony where survivors waited, hoping someone had heard their curdle. On the bridge of the thunderstorm, Captain Lee spoke quietly to herself. "Hold on, we're coming." The 5 Earth ships emerged from their quantum jump at the edge of the Eridani system. They immediately activated their stealth systems, becoming nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. On the bridge of the thunderstorm, Captain Sumin, Lee studied the main screen. The system had 3 planets orbiting a yellow star. The second planet was Novus Prime, once home to the Lyrian colony. "Scan the area," she ordered. "I want to know what we're facing." Her crew worked quickly, their fingers moving over control panels. After a few minutes, her first officer turned to her with a grim face. "Captain, we count 27 Vorid vessels in orbit around Novus Prime. Their main warship is almost twice the size of the thunderstorm." Sumin's expression remained calm, but her mind raced through possible strategies. "What about the planet's surface?" "Heavy Vorid presence," the officer replied. "They've established bases where the Lyrian colony once stood. There are mining operations in the northern hemisphere." "And the Lyrians?" The officer shook his head. "No clear signs. If there are survivors, they're well hidden." Sumin nodded. That was actually good news. If her sensors couldn't find the Lyrians, perhaps the Vorids couldn't either. "Signal the other ships," she said. "We proceed with the plan. Shadow and Stormcloud will create a diversion. Thunderstorm, Nightwind, and Tempest will search for survivors." Deep beneath the surface of Novus Prime, the situation was growing desperate for the Lyrian survivors. Their numbers had dropped to just over 2,600. Disease had spread through the cramped underground spaces, and medical supplies were running dangerously low. Commander Taeho Kim walked through the main cave that served as their living area. People lay on makeshift beds, many too weak to stand. Children cried from hunger. The colony's food supplies were being stretched beyond their limits. Ji-Young Park approached him, looking as tired as he felt. "The eastern tunnel collapsed yesterday," she reported. "We lost access to the water source there." Taeho closed his eyes briefly. "How long until the main recyclers fail?" 2 weeks, maybe less," Ji-Young replied. "And there's something else. The vibrations from the surface are getting stronger. I think the Vorids are mining and they're getting closer to our position." Before Taeho could respond, a young woman hurried toward them. Do-Yeon An was their best engineer, barely 25 years old but brilliant with technology. "Commander, I need to show you something," she said, her eyes wide with excitement. She held a small device in her hands. "I've been working on this for weeks. It can tap into the Vorid communication network." Taeho and Ji-Young followed her to a small alcove filled with salvaged equipment. Do-Yeon connected her device to a display screen. "It took time to decode their language," she explained, "but now we can listen to what they're saying." The screen flickered to life, showing symbols that shifted and changed. A harsh voice spoke in an alien language, but a second later, the device translated it into words they could understand. "Sector 7 mining operation, proceeding as scheduled. Estimated completion in 14 days. All traces of previous occupation will be eliminated as ordered." Taeho and Ji-Young exchanged worried glances. "Keep listening," Do-Yeon said. "There's more." They listened for hours as the Vorids discussed their plans. What they learned chilled them to the bone. The Vorids weren't just conquering for territory. They were systematically erasing all evidence of previous civilizations across multiple sectors. The Lyrians were just one of many species facing extinction. "They want to rewrite history," Ji-Young whispered. "Make it seem like they were always the only ones here, and no one is stopping them," Taeho added, his voice heavy with despair. In the darkness of space, Sergeant Jun Ho Choi and his Ghost Division team prepared for their mission. They stood in the drop bay of the Nightwind, checking their gear. One last time. Their stealth armor was designed to bend light around them, making them nearly invisible. "Remember," Choi said to his team of 12 soldiers, "we go in silent. Our job is to find the survivors and mark their location. No engaging the enemy unless absolutely necessary." The soldiers nodded. They had trained for years for missions like this. "Drop in 60 seconds, announced the ship's AI. Choi put on his Ober helmet and felt it seal against his armor. The faceplate lit up with information: oxygen levels, team positions, weapon status. He took a deep breath as the bay doors opened below them, revealing the planet's surface far below. "For Earth and our lost cousins," he said over the team channel. Then he stepped into the void. The stealth pods fell silently through the atmosphere, their heat shields absorbing the friction without giving off any detectable signature. They landed 5 kilometers from the ruins of the main Lyrian colony, now crawling with Vorid soldiers. Choi emerged from his pod and immediately activated his camouflage system. Around him, his team did the same, becoming shimming outlines barely visible even to each other. "Move out," he ordered. "Stay in formation. Watch for patrols." They moved like ghosts through the alien landscape. Novus Prime had once been a beautiful world with vast forests and clear lakes. Now much of it was scarred by Vorid mining operations. The air smelled of chemicals and burnt metal. As they approached the colony ruins, they saw Vorid soldiers everywhere. The aliens were tall, with gray skin and 4 arms. They wore armor that seemed to be part of their bodies, and they carried weapons that hummed with energy. "There's too many of them," whispered one of Choi's soldiers. "We need to find another way," Choi agreed. He checked his scanner. "There are cave systems below us. If the Lyrians survived, they might be down there." Just then, the sky lit up with explosions. The Earthships Shadow and Stormcloud had decloaked and were attacking the Vorid orbital facilities. Bright beams of energy sliced through Vorid ships, causing massive damage. The Vorids on the ground immediately began rushing to defense positions. Alarms wailed across their bases. "This is our chance," Choi said. "While they're distracted, we'll find a way underground." His team moved quickly through the chaos, using their stealth technology to avoid detection. They found an entrance to the cave system hidden among rocks, carefully concealed but detectable with their advanced sensors. "I'm picking up faint energy signatures," one of his soldiers reported. "Someone's using power down there." Choi felt his heart beat faster. "That has to be them. Let's go." As they prepared to enter the caves, Choi glanced up at the sky. The battle in orbit was fierce. Earthships moved with incredible speed, their weapons tearing through Vorid defenses. But the Vorids were fighting back hard, and more of their ships were arriving. "We don't have much time," he told his team. "Let's find our people and get them out of here." They slipped into the darkness of the caves, not knowing what they would find, but determined to complete their mission. Above them, the sky burned, with the light of battle as Earth's warriors fought to create the chance for rescue. Inside the caves, Commander Taeho and the Lyrian survivors heard the distant sounds of explosions. At first they thought the Vorids were using stronger mining explosives. Then Doyeon's communication device picked up frantic Vorid messages. "They're under attack," she translated, her voice rising with excitement. "Someone is attacking the Vorid ships in orbit." Hope, almost forgotten after weeks of hiding, began to spread through the survivors. Taeho looked at Ji Young, afraid to believe. "Could it be?" Ji Young whispered. "Did Earth hear us after all?" Sergeant Junho Choi led his team deeper into the cave system. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing narrow tunnels that twisted downward. The air grew colder as they descended. "Energy readings are getting stronger," said Mina, one of his soldiers. She was their tech specialist. "Someone is definitely using power down here." "Could be Vorid mining equipment," another soldier suggested. Choi shook his head. "The signature is different. Older technology." He felt a spark of hope. "It matches what we know about Lyrian tech." They continued forward until they reached a wall of fallen rocks blocking their path. It looked like a cave-in, but something about it seemed strange to Choi. "This is too neat," he said, examining the rocks. "This was done on purpose." He pressed his hand against the wall and activated his scanner. Beyond the rocks, he detected an open space and faint heat signatures. "There are people on the other side," he said. His heart beat faster. "A lot of people." He switched his comm unit to broadcast mode. "This is Sergeant Junho Choi of Earth's Ghost Division. We're here to help. If anyone can hear me, please respond." For several long seconds, there was only silence. Then a crackling sound came from the other side of the rock wall. "This is Commander Tae-ho Kim of the Lyrian colony Novus Prime," a tired voice answered. "Who did you say you were from?" "Earth," Choi replied, unable to keep the emotion from his voice. "We received your distress call. We've come to take you home." Above ground, the battle continued to rage. The Earthship Shadow and Stormcloud darted between larger Vorid vessels, firing weapons that cut through alien shields. The Vorids had never seen such technology before and were struggling to adapt. On the bridge of the thunderstorm, Captain Su-Min Lee watched the battle on her main screen. Her ship remained cloaked, hovering over the area where Choi's team had landed. "Captain," her communications officer called, "we're receiving a message from Sergeant Choi." Su-Min straightened in her chair. "Put it through." "Captain, we've found them." Choi's voice came through clearly despite being underground. "There are survivors. At least 2,000, maybe more." A cheer went up from the bridge crew. Su-Min allowed herself a small smile. "That's good news, Sergeant. What's their condition?" There was a pause before Choi answered. "Not good, Captain. Many are sick. Some can barely walk. Getting them all to the extraction point will be difficult." Su-Min's smile faded. Their plan had assumed most survivors would be able to move on their own. "How much time do you need?" "At least 12 hours to organize everyone and reach the extraction point. Maybe longer." Su-Min looked at the tactical display. The diversion was working for now, but Shadow and Stormcloud couldn't hold off the Vorid fleet forever, and more enemy ships were arriving. "You have 8 hours, Sergeant," she said firmly. "Make it work." Inside the caves, the Lyrians were coming to terms with the sudden appearance of their rescuers. Many had given up hope weeks ago. Now, strangers in advanced armor were offering salvation. Tae-ho and Ji-young stood with Sergeant Choi in what had become their command center, a small cave with maps and equipment spread across makeshift tables. "Earth has been silent for decades," Tae-ho said, still not quite believing what was happening. "Why come now?" "Because you asked for help," Choi replied simply. "And we don't abandon our own." The Earth soldiers had brought supplies, medicine, food, water purifiers. They moved through the caves, helping the sick and explaining the evacuation plan. At first there was tension. The Lyrians spoke differently, their customs changed by centuries of separation, but as hours passed, the shared human heritage became obvious. "My great-grandmother was Lyrian," Choi told Tae-ho as they worked. "She used to tell me stories about the colonies. I never thought I'd see one. And I never thought I'd see someone from Earth," Tae-ho replied. "Our histories tell us Earth turned inward, forgot about its children among the stars." Choi checked his weapon, a habit born from years of training. "We never forgot. We were just preparing." Ji-young approached them, her face serious. "The communication device is picking up new Vorid transmissions. Something big is happening." They followed her to where Do-yeon sat monitoring her device. The young engineer looked up with fear in her eyes. "They've called for their ultimate weapon," she said. "Something called a world cleaner. It will be here, in 12 hours. "What exactly is a world cleaner?" Choi asked. "From what I can translate, it's designed to strip a planet's surface. Total purification, they call it." Do-yeon's hands trembled. Nothing would survive. Choi immediately contacted Captain Lee to share this information. "We're picking it up on long-range sensors," Lee confirmed. "It's massive, Sergeant. Bigger than anything we've seen so far." "We need more time," Choi argued. "These people can't move fast enough." "You don't have more time," Lee's voice was firm. 8 hours, Sergeant. Get everyone to the extraction point." The evacuation began immediately. The strongest Lyrians helped carry the sick and wounded. Earth soldiers distributed emergency survival, packs and guided groups through the tunnels toward the surface. Children cried, afraid of leaving the safety of the caves. Parents tried to comfort them with whispered promises of a new home. As they worked, Tejo noticed how efficiently the Earth soldiers moved. Their armor was unlike anything he had seen before, seeming to blend with shadows. Their weapons were advanced yet familiar enough that he recognized their deadly purpose. How did Earth develop such technology? He asked Choi, as they led a group through a narrow passage. While the galaxy thought we had retreated in fear, we were building our strength, Choi explained. Learning from past wars, preparing for future ones. Preparing for this? To rescue a forgotten colony? Choi paused before answering. Preparing to protect humanity, wherever it exists. 4 hours into the evacuation, disaster struck. One of the main tunnels collapsed, blocking the path for nearly 200 Lyrians. The vibrations from the ongoing battle above had weakened the cave's structure. "We're trapped," came the panicked call over the comm. Choi and Tejo rushed to the scene. A wall of rock and dirt completely filled the tunnel. "Is there another way around?" Choi asked. Tejo studied the map of the cave system. "Yes, but it passes directly beneath a Vorid outpost. We've avoided it for weeks because their sensors might detect us." Choi looked at the map. "With your knowledge of the caves and our stealth technology, we might make it through. We have no choice." Tejo nodded. "I'll lead them. And I'll come with you," Choi decided. He selected 4 of his best soldiers to join them, leaving the rest to continue the main evacuation. Ji Young insisted on joining their group. "I know those tunnels better than anyone," she said. "You'll need me." The small group set out with the trapped Lyrians, taking a dangerous path that would bring them dangerously close to their enemies. Above them, the battle between Earth and Vorid ships lit up the sky like a storm of fire and lightning. Time was running out, not just for the evacuation, but for the planet itself. As they approached the area beneath the Vorid outpost, Choi activated his team's stealth systems and shared portable fields with the Lyrian leaders. "Stay close," he instructed. "Move exactly as we move." They began the most dangerous part of their journey, knowing that discovery would mean death for them all.